Yeah.
Bringing on the text message thing, I love how the teams were tweeting their picks before they made them.
Not to get all philosophical about this thing, but this was the Twitter draft. This was the first Twitter draft, and it was amazing to watch.
Absolutely. We found out about the Pronger trade thanks to Darren Dreger.
Yeah.
You know, before it hit the websites, before it was officially announced on the floor. You know, I mean,
you had teams breaking news, you had media breaking news, you had knuckleheads like me talking about like superfluous stuff. I mean, it really was.
I really like knowing what your sandwich looked like. You know.
Yeah, that was fancy.
I had another writer.
Great moments
like
in draft
$8 for a
reporting.
pretzel. You're eating a free sandwich.
One of the writers is like, "Why do you keep on taking pictures of your food?" Because I'm like, "It's because it's fascinating."
You do that all the time.
I know. Yeah, when I went to Pittsburgh for the
You're like,
final,
this is my beer. Okay.
I took a picture of the beer. I took a picture of the Permane Brothers sandwich because I knew that people hear about that sandwich, the French fries on top of it, the whole thing. I'm like, I need to share this with the world. But the Twitter thing is funny because like I talked to Brian Lawton after the draft, and he's one of these guys really using Twitter a lot. Like they broke the re-signing of Krychek on Twitter, and the beat writers were kind of like, this is beat. Why did you do this?
Oh snap!
Yeah, oh snap! And so I asked him. I said, like, how are you taking to Twitter? Like, what do you think about Twitter? And he's like, honestly, it's a little awkward. He's like, I kind of have to do it to keep the fans interested, but I don't know if I like having to update it as much as we do. So they're all kind of like, it's a brave new world time for these cats. I mean, and they have to do it because everybody's doing it now.
Yeah.
Peer pressure.
Well, it is a bit of
the same as welcoming bloggers to the as part of the media contingent at the draft is still kind of brave new world.
They talked about that at the Professional Hockey Writers Association meeting. The fact, the blogger thing is always something else.
You just dropped the name. I want to pick that up for you.
Well, no, I was there.
There we go.
Yeah, we definitely don't need that name either to stay here. They're just going to clean it up when we leave.
What was? Oh yeah, no. The Twitter thing. Was something that we discussed because the writers, and I think legitimately, are like, we cover these teams in order to get more people interested in the sport. These teams are now using this rapid delivery system of news to break news before they even call us or send out a press release through traditional means. So at some point there needs to be a discussion of, is Twitter going to circumvent the media and make like print media or even web media superfluous when people are getting the news straight from the teams on Twitter?
Well, at what point does it just become obsolete? Because everything does. So
when Twitter becomes obsolete, or
no, print media.
Oh well,
because at some point, if you're getting your news on Twitter, then why do you have to wait for it to come out on a Washington Post website or on a
Because there are always going to be details that need to be said. But your point
you get your headline, but that could just draw you back.
It draws you to it in the first place.
Exactly. It'll draw you to the actual report details here and just.
Not to make this into some sort of journalism 101 thing, but I think that's the real issue with the web right now, is that there is such pressure for immediacy that no one gives a shit about the details anymore. And it actually traces back to the Clinton thing.
Yeah.
When Drudge broke the Clinton-Lewinsky thing, he broke the news, he got it right. Every single detail in that post wound up being bullshit.
Yeah.
But no one remembers it because he got the he got the scoop first.
Yeah.
And I think it's just been a trickle down to all the way to 2009, where it's more important to get the headline first and then figure out the details later. The Pronger trade, I read a few things on Twitter that said that Ladislav Schmid from the Oilers was in the trade. And I said to myself, how is that possible? And all of a sudden people were like, oh my god, did Breer get traded to the Oilers?
Yeah.
And it turned out to be another defenseman with a really funny name with the initials LS. The immediacy thing leads to sloppiness, and it leads to sort of a dumbing down.
But I feel like that's a U.S. value.
Really?
I mean, at what point do we really need macaroni and cheese to be instant?
Why you gotta hate?
Are you in college?
I kind of feel like I think that's a U.S. trait that we need everything instantly.
Okay. I misunderstood. You think that it's a U.S. trait that we're the reason that you have immediacy?
Yeah,
completely.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not gonna lie.
Well, then why are we arguing about this?
We have three cable news networks whose sole reason for existence is to try to get the story first without getting it right. Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching the coverage of Michael Jackson, and they managed to screw up every single possible thing you could do before they got the story right. But at least they were talking about it. You know what I mean? So that you're absolutely right. It's our fault.
Yeah, but at some point though, too, doesn't all of this, I call it bump, you know, all of this, you know,
Bump
all the
also,
details, this overwhelming thing of details, they're all conflicting, they're out to lunch, or they're wrong. Doesn't at some point, though, would that not sort of like result in a backlash where people start to say, okay, look, yeah, we want to know the news, but we also want you guys to get it right. We want to know
I
the
don't
details.
even feel like
Right.
that happens, though. I feel like people, in some cases, I feel like people can be told what they're supposed to know. And I feel like even if it isn't right, the fact that they knew it before somebody else is like a huge kudo.
That's
You know, it's like,
I
all right,
completely
cool.
agree. I completely agree.
You know, it's like, I got it.
That's how Perez Hilton has a career.
Right. People want to feel like they're in the loop before they actually
That
have to
right
know
here.
anything.
Sure, but I mean, but one of the things for me,
No
and
pun intended.
part of the reason, and I get this a lot from people who read my site, and one of the reasons why they love what I do, I get this a lot, is because I go in and kind of put in a few lines, but I break down the
You
details.
analyze it,
I sit
yeah.
down,
You
analyze
put
this,
the craft
exactly, and
effect
go,
on it, yeah.
okay, does this hold up? Does it not?
Yeah.
You know, and people say, we love that, and I mean, every year my site keeps growing and popular because of that. That's a big reason why, is because I go through and go, no, let's go, you know, the devil's in the details, as they say, so let's take a look.
No, because honestly, when it comes to sports news, and I don't know if this crosses over to other things, or maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but people are more interested in the fantasy land aspect of discussion than they are with actual facts. So the minute you hear Bo Meester traded,
Yeah.
it's more fun as a sports fan to be like, oh my God, what did they give up for him? You know,
But that's what keeps sports talk radio in
Completely.
function. Like,
Completely.
you look at the Mad Dog, on his serious gimmick, you have people calling up saying, if we traded A-Rod for this guy, and this guy, and they overanalyze it out the ass.
you can't be trading A-Rod. You can't be doing that. Come on. Trading A-Rod.
What if we trade A-Rod and Jeter for Superman and Batman?
I think the White Sox already
Wait,
tried
an
that.
option on one.
Well, I think the Justice League doesn't have the steroid testing, so that's
Yeah.
fine.
The Justice League.
They're a legit league.
There you go.
Is that like the California Penal League?
But that's also. But again, that's an interesting point to bring up, because that also explains why we see in our line of work that there are certain people who, you know, let's just say they traffic in
With
anonymous rumors and things like that.
1920s press hats?
It doesn't matter.
Looking
You know,
for phone booths for breaking news?
and that's a,
Well, see?
yeah.
But again, listen, there's an audience for it, though. Like,
Oh,
I-
absolutely
My,
there's
my,
an
my
audience
personal
for it.
feelings
Yeah.
on Dwayne Plessel aside, there's an audience for it, and he's a brilliant businessman for utilizing that audience. I mean, it's sort of the message board culture that we were all in before blogs
Yes. Yeah.
were popularized, where someone would propose a trade, and then
Oh,
you
yeah.
spend the rest of the day
Yeah.
on the message board
Just
going back and forth.
One of my favorites when I was at AOL message board is this Ranger fan sent me something. This is back in like '96, and it was like, oh yes, yeah, the Rangers are going to be acquiring Sashu Koivu from the Montreal Canadiens for like these two spare parts.
Sashu.
Sashu. I was like, okay, right off the bat we can tell that's it. But that was one of my, that's just stuck in my head. I remembered it all these years later. Yes,
Sounds like a
Sashu Koivu.
Finnish nut of some sort.
With two
Yeah, I'm
O's at
pretty
the end
certain
of
I could get that on the
Koivu.
way into the Orioles games.
Essentially.
As long as they let me bring it in Camden Yards.